Good morning, and thank you for being with us today. I am joined by many of the men and women in law enforcement who, day in and day out, sometimes without you even knowing, are doing the work to keep all of us very safe. And I'm pleased to be here with Sheriff Jim McDonnell to make a couple of announcements. But before I turn it over to Sheriff McDonnell and I say a few words, we'd like to introduce a few members of our team who are here because they're the ones who supervise. And to some degree, because you don't see all of them on camera, they're the ones that work day in, day out with the folks who actually do the job of keeping us safe. And so I'd like to begin by acknowledging the work of, at least on my team, Tony Liddell, who is a special agent in charge to my immediate left, Sam Richardson, special agent supervisor, and Eric Higa, acting special agent supervisor. Members of my Division of Law Enforcement, our Bureau of Firearms team that day in, day out does some of this work. There are a number of other members of this team who are with us who, because of the work they do, aren't standing here, but they are standing every day doing the work that needs to be done. And I want to acknowledge them even though they cannot be on camera. I'm going to let Sheriff McDonnell also recognize some of the members of his team as well. Here in the state of California, we're working, as I said, every day to make sure guns stay out of the wrong hands. Our state's Armed and Prohibited Persons System, or what we call APPS, has made tremendous strides in cracking down on illegal gun ownership. Our database under the APPS program cross-references firearm owners across our state against criminal record histories. And we also look at restraining orders from those who are dangerous individuals and proven themselves so because the courts have issued these restraining orders against them. All of this in the effort to prevent these individuals from possessing firearms because they've lost the right to do so. It's worth noting that California is the first and only state that has a program like this to retrieve weapons from people who have lost the right to possess them. And the program works. Since 2013, we have seized in California more than 18,000 firearms from individuals who have lost their right to possess those firearms. Today, we're announcing Operation Dual Force. It's another effort to try to remove guns from the hands of those who should not have them. And as a result of Operation Dual Force, which is currently underway, dozens more illegal weapons from around LA County are no longer in the wrong hands. This operation began in June when a team from the California Department of Justice and a team from the LA County Sheriff's Department partnered to make sure we could go after some of these prohibited people. Working together, our agents have closed 220 APPS cases so far. We've arrested 33 individuals. We've gotten more than 100 firearms, and we've retrieved thousands of rounds of ammunition and taken them off our streets. All told, our teams working together have recovered 109 firearms, and you see some of them right here in front of us. 6 of those firearms were assault weapons, 56 were handguns, 20 were shotguns, 24 were rifles, and there were 3 receivers. Operation Dual Force helped us seize over 25,000 rounds of ammunition. And we seized 50 high-capacity magazines, which, as you know, in California are illegal. We expect these numbers to grow as our Operation Dual Force continues over the coming months. I end the way I started, and that is by thanking the men and women who actually did this work. You don't read about it often in the news because they do their work so well that you don't find incidents where they are hurt or someone in the community is hurt. And think about this. They're out there retrieving weapons from convicted felons, from people who are dangerous, and in all those thousands of cases where they have been able to confiscate weapons from dangerous people, no one has been hurt. Why California is the only state that does this, I don't get it. But we're going to keep doing it. And every time we have an opportunity to partner with the men and women in law enforcement, as we have with the LA County Sheriff's Department, we will do it. and we're proud to do it. And now let me turn it over to Sheriff Jim McDonald. Al fin podemos hablar en español.
Thank you, sir.
Or we'll let Sheriff McDonald do it all in Spanish.
That would be interesting. Well, thank you all for being here very much. I'd like to introduce some members of our team who are here: Under Sheriff Anthony LaBerge, Chief Bobby Denham, Chief Steve Johnson, Commander Steve Katz, Captain Eddie Hernandez, Lieutenant Marty Rodriguez, and Sergeant Ken Lord. And so we come together as one team, as you can see here, with the LA County Sheriff's Department and the Department of Justice, working with one common goal and mission is to keep our streets and our communities across the state safer. I'd like to thank the Attorney General for being here today to help inform and update the public on important public safety issue involving the identification of persons prohibited from possessing firearms and for confiscating these weapons when appropriate. A partnership was formed between LA County Sheriff's Department Major Crimes Bureau, the California Department of Justice Firearms Section, to develop a strategic plan to address the issue of collecting firearms that are in the possession of prohibited individuals. In June of 2018, this joint endeavor proceeded forward with a large-scale effort to contact individuals who were in the Armed Prohibited Persons System, or APPS, a database currently maintained by the California Department of Justice. The system identifies prohibited individuals for various reasons, including but not limited to serious criminal history and criminal convictions, proven and documented psychological or psychiatric conditions, domestic violence, including the issuance of legal restraining orders that prohibit firearm possession and possession of identified illegal weapons. The joint operations were conducted in an effort to make contact with and recover firearms from identified prohibited possessors. In most cases, confiscation of inspection of the weapons is completed without resistance. Each identified contact is referred to as a case, and the goal or mission of this partnership is to address all open cases within the jurisdiction of the LASD's 23 patrol stations. Currently, team members have investigated 234 cases within 13 of the LA County Sheriff's Department patrol station jurisdictions. Of the 234 cases, 220 have been cleared by making contact with the subject in question, determining the current status of the firearm, which could result in a seizure. The cases have yielded the following results, which are categorized as follows: 108 cases involving criminal history or prohibited firearm possession, 62 cases involving psychological or psychiatric restrictions which prohibit possession, 15 cases involving persons who were known to have multiple restrictions, 49 cases involving registered owner restrictions, and during this process, 8 search warrants were executed. I'll give you a couple of examples of the type of things we're talking about here. APPS identified a mentally ill individual who failed to surrender his weapons. DOJ and Major Crimes Bureau attempted to contact the individual at his residence, only to discover he was not home. Investigators were approached by several neighbors in the area, and they all expressed their concern about the subject being extremely unstable, and they all feared for their safety. They stated that the subject was a chronic abuser of methamphetamine, and during his drug-induced tirades would challenge neighborhoods and threaten to shoot them all. Armed with this information, team members immediately began an active search for the subject. The subject was located several hours later. A search warrant was obtained for the residence, and 10 guns and several thousand rounds were located inside. The subject was subsequently arrested, and that case is still pending. A second one, APPS identified an individual who was on probation for child pornography who failed to surrender his weapons. DOJ and Major Crimes Bureau attempted to contact this person at his residence, and he was also not home. After further investigation, team members discovered that the subject was attempting to elude law enforcement by moving from hotel to hotel throughout Los Angeles County. Team members tracked the subject down at a local hotel. However, they were unable to locate the outstanding weapons. During their investigation, they discovered that the subject rented a locker at a storage facility across town. They searched the locker and found 2 outstanding handguns. The subject was subsequently arrested, and this case is also still pending. A third case, APPS identified an individual who was on parole for criminal threats who failed to surrender his weapon. They conducted a parole search at the subject's residence and located a military-style rifle and several hundred rounds of ammunition. White supremacist propaganda was also discovered at the residence, and the subject was also subsequently arrested. Several days later, team members discovered additional incriminating information regarding the subject. A search warrant was obtained for his residence, and they discovered additional 2 handguns and approximately 2,000 rounds of ammunition. The Attorney General went over the current seizures, and as mentioned, many are beside us here. But based on the success of our partnership with California DOJ, we're committed to a long-term collaboration to increase public safety for all of the communities that we serve, and we're honored to be able to work with Cal DOJ to be able to keep our communities safer.